newer cars are not safe compared to the older cars because these new cars use thinner and lighter metal during their construction. Now, when it comes to these older cars, they use heavier and thicker metal. So, God forbid, if you were to get into a crash, you would be much safer in an older car compared to you being in a new car. That's the word on the street, right? That's what people say if you ask them generally, they would give such a response. But I've done my research and let me show you which cars are safer, the older ones with the heavy thick metals or the new ones with the light thin metal. So this is what I found. So the evidence, newer cars are actually safer, much safer compared to these older vehicles, right? Generally, of course, there could be one or two cars that are exceptions to the rules, but generally, newer cars are much safer compared to these older vehicles. And I'm talking about safety when it comes to collisions, crashes, accidents, right? High impacts or low impacts. We're going to get into those ones. Evidence can only be found where the action has occurred, the action being an accident. When they compare older cars and newer cars after high impact accident, they found that these newer cars, they absorbed impact way better than these older cars. Because some people would say that, no, I drive an older car and I got into a fender bender and I crashed into these newer cars with plastic bumpers and the bumper literally fell off and my car was still standing, was still intact. Because it's old car, old metal, it's strong. That's not the case. Older cars are very bad at absorbing high impact accidents. So the way they crumble, the way they crash, the way they fold basically, right, is terrible. And the terribleness lies in the way they were constructed. Newer cars are designed with something called crumple zones. Okay, maybe older cars do have crumple zones, but then they're not as modern as these newer cars, right? The front and the back, as you can see from the picture, the crumple zones and the safety zones. So these crumple zones, their job is one thing and one thing only, to absorb high impact collisions, to reduce this high impact from reaching where the passengers sit. As you can see there, the safety zone or the passenger cell. So you crash from the front or you crash from the back, those high impacts, when these cars crumple, the impact is reduced, the force is reduced, the force that reaches the passenger cell, the safety zone, is reduced. So you are much safer because of the way they endure impacts. Older cars do a very terrible job at accepting defeat. Defeat is being crashed or crashing, right? They're terrible at it. They have bad crumple zones. They are not as strong as these newer cars, even though they use lighter and thinner metal, as I've said. That's because that's how we interpret things. This one is thicker and heavier, therefore stronger. But no, during high impacts, older cars are terrible at absorbing impacts. They just crumble very badly, right? As you can see from the video, basically. So newer cars are much safer compared to older cars. And I'm not talking about airbags or sophisticated safety features like your braking assist or those lane swerving assistant things. Maybe the car thinks like you're gonna take too long to react. It brakes for you or it swerves for you or whatever it does. I'm not talking about those things. I'm basically talking about the structure, the shell of the vehicles. Newer cars just absorb high impact way better compared to these older vehicles. So Lezangela Kale is not as strong as the new light metal. But 2000 in this regard have won. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more car related content.